Clashroyale. We've had many problems over the years, and a lot of them have really been annoying and game-breaking and a deal breaker. But I have to give some credit to the Clashroyale team. They often fix these problems and in a good way. Today's video is all about Clashroyale problems that we no longer have to deal with, luckily. So with that being said, let's get right into it.
Let's do this.
Switching accounts. I also mentioned this in the Clash of Clans version of this video, and Clashroyale had the exact same problem. Before Supercell ID, the game relied on whatever service your phone was using. So for Apple, it was Game Center. For Android, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the last time I heavily used an Android was in 2015 when I had the Galaxy S5. I'm getting a little off topic. The point is, Supercell ID didn't exist, so you changed accounts using whatever your phone allowed you to use. I'm not sure about Android, but for iPhones, it was incredibly annoying. You had to go into your settings, log out, sign in with the other accounts, and then go back to Clashroyale to then confirm that you're trying to switch accounts. It was a mess. Today, as you may have noticed, the Supercell gods have blessed us with Supercell ID. This was introduced for Clashroyale in 2018, but it wasn't until like 2019 when you could easily switch accounts. Gold being harder to get than cards. Okay, gold was never that rare, but for a very long time, there just wasn't enough ways to get gold. And I get it, today it's still a struggle to get enough gold sometimes, but it is nowhere near the issue that it was years back. In other words, it's always been an issue and it still is, but it is far easier to get gold today. Gold crates, global tournaments, clan wars, more frequent challenges, better chests, pass royale, trophy road. I mean, there is just so much. So yeah, it'll probably never be perfect, but it is not so much of a huge issue today, at least in my opinion. Before we move on any further, this video is kindly sponsored by Gunship Battle Crypto Conflict. Now that may sound familiar, and that's because we've taken an in-depth look at Gunship Battle Total Warfare twice on this channel, but this time around, they've just released Crypto Conflict. Now, as a refresher, this is one of the best military MMOs out there. You essentially manage your naval base and are in charge of producing resources and directing land, sea, or air units to dominate the sea. But this time around in Crypto Conflict, you can acquire a new resource, titanium. You get this titanium by simply doing various activities that you were probably already doing. Then you can exchange this resource for Milico, the in-game blockchain token, which can be transferred to the Wemix platform for tokens. Yeah, you basically get paid while enjoying the game, and then after some time you can cash out. Now, if you want to know more about this, I'll be linking their Discord down below, and make sure to download the game with the link down below. So yeah, back to the video. Cancel button never working. This ties into another topic in the video, but basically the matchmaking years back was intentionally made to work as fast as possible because the way you got matched up with players was a lot less complicated. It didn't need a whole lot of time to search for players, so by the time you changed your mind, oh, never mind, I don't want to play this match, well, it's too late. You are playing that match. The cancel button didn't work if you waited longer than, like, I don't know, a split second. Of course, as time went on, we saw some changes to the matchmaking system, and so it allowed the cancel button to work because the matchmaking took longer. I guess we can dive into the next one and explain the whole situation, which is unfair matchmaking. So the way matchmaking used to work was simply finding a player in your trophy range. That is literally it. Of course, there are many players in the same trophy range as you at any given time, so that's why the cancel button didn't really work. Of course, because matchmaking was incredibly fast. Over time, Supercell made some changes and the cancel button was sort of fixed, but matchmaking didn't really change as a whole until February of 2021. This update made it so that you not only get matched up with players in your trophy range, but also with players in the same level range as you. So if you were a level 10, you'd get matched up with players that were either level 9, 10, or 11 to make things fair. This made things a whole lot better and took a little bit more time. And it's the reason why years later, memes about the cancel button not working have become pretty irrelevant. It could also be because the meme did get old. I mean, people spammed it all the time, but I think it's a combination of both. Saving decks for later use. I mean, do you really need more than 10 decks? Today, we have more than enough decks. I mean, I don't even play the 10 decks that I have. You can also just copy a deck from a website, ask your friends for one, copy it from any match. The need to screenshot and save your decks on your phone has vanished. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that today. Like before, you could not copy a deck, you couldn't ask someone for one and just use it, and for a brief period we had one deck slot. Over time we just kept getting more and more deck slots, and today we have 10. Like there's a whole new page for it, it doesn't fit. So yeah, needing to screenshot and save decks on your phone is no longer an issue. When there was nothing but ladder to do. I used to hate the days before the party button, before custom friendly challenges, before tournaments, all that. I mean, I didn't hate it, but things got boring fairly quickly once ladder started to become a sweat fest. I just wanted to play casually, like that's all I'm about, playing and just having fun. But ladder was the only thing to do, so I just ended up playing ladder, and it was far from casual. I mean, that's still the case today with ladder, but luckily, as you can tell, there are a lot of other things to do, including a literal casual ladder. I don't feel like I have to explain everything you can do in the game now, but I'm just glad that this is no longer a problem. I probably would have quit the game years ago if that was still the case. Unfair card launches. It used to be that every new card added to the game was sort of hard to use because you'd get the lowest level possible, and then you'd go on ladder and some guy that religiously hands their paycheck to Supercell has it maxed out already. Obviously, players that could afford to do that had a very clear advantage. It was never fair when it came time to using and leveling up a new card. And to make things even worse, sometimes you realize that that card wasn't even worth maxing out after all. The card level boost feels like it was sent straight from heaven. It is literally the fix to all of those problems I just mentioned. It's not perfect though, like you only have it maxed for a month, but at least when that month is up, you know if that card was worth it or not. The only downside to all of this is that sometimes when you finally max it out, it may have already been nerfed. I'm not sure how you would really fix that, but as for all of the other problems, the card level boost easily fixed that. Cards being OP for months. The old Clashroyale days were seriously like the Wild West. The Clashroyale team used to be very small, managing everything, and it was always an issue to get things done quick. Well, if you didn't know, in 2020 or 2021, I believe, Supercell increased the size of all teams of their games. They mentioned this in a statement not too long ago. I'll link it in the description if you want to read it. And ever since, things have been okay. Balance changes happen very frequently, and updates should be coming in faster than before. I mean, it isn't the first time the Clashroyale team has tried to balance cards more often, but as we've seen in the past, it didn't really work out as planned before. But overall, the situation is better today. Things get balanced rather quickly. One name forever. Well, this didn't remain that way forever, but in the early days, you really only had one chance to change your name, and if you fucked it up somehow, there was not much you can do. This honestly doesn't need a whole lot of explaining. Just think of a time when changing your name wasn't really an option, and you'd maybe understand how annoying that would be. Of course, later on, we got some free name changes, maybe like once or twice, and then today, you can change it whenever you want. Sure, it costs more gems every time you do it, so it can get pretty pricey, but at least you have the option to do it. Not knowing your next chest. Well, you can't really check your chests in the game, but once upon a time, you had zero way of checking this stuff. When the game came out, players thought the chests you got were random, but it didn't take long to figure out it wasn't. Using the Clashroyale API, websites like Stats Royale popped up, and players noticed that on these websites, you could see a lot more stats about you and the game than you could in the actual game. One of those stats was your chest cycle, and this absolutely blew up. Like, I remember making a video on how to check your cycle, and that video did insanely well for the time. Like, this was a year after global launch. So yeah, your next chest is no longer a mystery, and if you want it to remain a mystery, it's simple as just not checking. So guys, I think that should be it for this list of 10 problems that we no longer have to deal with in 2022. Well, some of these problems have been fixed for quite a long time now, but yeah, there are probably more problems that were solved. So if you guys have any ideas for a part 2 sometime, maybe in 2030, drop them down below. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a gaming out. Peace.